Ladies and gentlemen, Bloody Civilian is in the house. How you doing, Bloody Civilian?
I'm good. It's nice to finally meet you, Steve.
It is. It is nice to finally meet. It's been a journey. It's been a journey, not just in trying to get this to happen. I was explaining to everyone that Lagos traffic, and life in general in Nigeria sometimes gets in the way of these meetings. But it's also been a journey for you. I first found out about you in 2019 when I stumbled on the song Goliath. Weirdly enough, I'm going to start from here. That song seems to have disappeared from your discography. I can't find it anywhere, apart from the copies that I have, and I ensured I had multiple copies.
Yeah. So it's actually still up, but it's by my initial alias. So just in case you want to find it. Yeah. I left it up there.
Okay, good. So I want to start from there because that was the song that basically introduced me to you. Some of the lyrics in the song include, let me quote, "How am I going to fight these Goliaths? I cast it and bind it. How am I going to tell you that my people are not with me tonight?" Mm-hmm. For some reason, that stuck in my head because it sounded like you were coming from a place of, I've got challenges to face, but I'm doing it all alone. And I cannot let the challenges know that there's no backup. Basically, it was you against the world.
Yeah.
Am I right in saying that was the mood for the song, or am I reading meanings? Because I had issues at the time.
That was the actual state of mind I was in when I wrote the song. So yes, you're spot on.
Okay. What led to you? Can you tell me what issues were going on? I'm nosy. I'm sorry. It comes with the job. I'm very nosy.
I mean, it was a lot at the time. I was just like generally very like confused. Overall, I was still trying to figure out, my I guess like my pattern of thinking overall. And in life, I kind of had like an existential crisis. Well, there wasn't really crisis in my day-to-day life. I was just genuinely just confused as to why I was doing what I was doing, and I didn't feel much fulfillment. So it was a turbulent time for me internally where it didn't really show. People didn't really know that was going on, and my music was reflecting that.
Right. It definitely struck a chord. Every time that I felt down, and I needed to just get on with it, I would play that song. I still have it. Like I said, I have multiple copies. I've got the ones that I put out when I'm on radio. I've got the ones that I regularly listen to. I stream it just so that I can remind myself that I'm strong enough to deal with the challenges. Now, you, on the other hand, made, I would say, another Goliath journey in moving from your base in Abuja, literally leaving your people and coming into the most insane city in Africa, in Lagos, to start a career. Why?
Honestly, for the same reason everybody else is here.
We need the money.
Exactly. Let me not pretend like I'm the only one, right? It's just, I just felt okay. Let me finally, dead that notion that Abuja artists, they don't want to come to Lagos and hustle and work. So I came to Lagos to do the work and to see, okay, what is in Lagos. And Lagos actually, I would just say there was a leap. It definitely drastically changed the outcome of my trajectory. And I'm happy that I made the decision to come here in the end, special extra shout out to my landlord and everybody else giving me a very hard time in this city. But aside from that, I think everything will be worth it in the end.
You jumped into Lagos, and it was one of those cases where, you know how we say the current political dispensation, you hit the ground running. You jumped into Lagos. The next thing I heard of was Black Panther.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you manage to do it, being on a project that big and keeping completely silent. Did you have to sign any NDAs, or is just a case of you couldn't believe that this was happening?
I can't recall. I think I probably did sign an NDA.
Okay.
But also I think that I was still silent about it, regardless of the fact that there was things we were allowed to disclose. But I just felt, I just didn't know where to start talking about it from, because for me that experience was so brand new that, and when something is really exciting or it's just too, it's either like extreme,
it's surreal.
If it's just too surreal, I really can't find the words.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So we don't speak French. I'm going to say this in English. Let's
Mm-hmm.
not speak French in reference to your landlord. What difficulties have you faced moving
Mm-hmm.
from sort of the serenity in Abuja into
Mm.
the madhouse that
I
is
think we should
Lagos?
start first with the agent. Let's start there. Because how
Ah,
I met the landlord is through the agent, right? Exactly. So let's start there. Special shout outs. We're constantly swimming in Osapa, London. We thank God. Um, but this year, hopefully, new things will happen for us. And, because, bruh, Lagos, I will say, quality of living is a prayer point.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm praying in solidarity with everybody who who lives in Lagos. We're going through it, but hopefully things get better. We,
Okay. When you started talking about this online, you were asking people to guess the name of the album, and the first thing people started relating to was anger. And then I think somebody tweeted, "Why are you always angry?" But you don't have that demeanor of an angry person. I mean, you came
yeah,
into the studio all cool, calm, and collected. You've got a very soft voice. It'd be like say you don't get wahala, but it's like
I,
it's under the surface.
I think as you grow older, you just learn how to mask these things. But for sure, I can relate to every single thing in the album. I'm almost always angry. I'm always upset about something. I feel like for me, this EP was just, you know what? Let me expression is like the easiest way to start healing certain things that you may like upset you deeply.
Right.
And so I feel like every song I spoke about all the topics that upset me deeply, like on a daily basis.
Mm.
So yeah, that's where the EP name came from.
You've got a very supportive family. I know that your father was also has a musical background.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
was it easy for them to accept that their child is going into music, especially because I'm pretty sure that he experienced his own ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
Was he okay to say, okay, look, you can do this? Did he try to give you any advice, or did he just say, look, I support you, go do your thing, and then we'll be here in case you need us?
I think the support started off being quite passive, which you should know in Nigeria with all the things required support financially and things like that. Passive support is almost like
No
no
support whatsoever.
support. So it started off being last we no go to clear in your front. And then I think as things started to show results, my parents just slowly started to say, okay, let's help out here and there
Mm.
in any way that they could. But for the most part, this was definitely a solo job.
Yeah.
And yes, my dad definitely did. I feel like every young person has that dream at some point, and Nigeria somehow slaps that out. And for me, my dad was definitely one of those people that was touring on the weekends and then working during the weekday. Then as Nigeria was getting tougher, they could no longer even go on tour due to like safety. They were doing it in the 80s.
Right.
Yeah, so eventually it just like this is where I make my money from, and I'm just going to be forward facing here. So for him, I grew up kind of listening to my dad write new songs regularly, and he would sing them around us, and I could tell that this is someone who's constantly creating you know songs. He'll pick up the guitar, he'll play them, and I grew up around that, and that's still even the way I write. I write like randomly from my surroundings, and I pick up the guitar and I find chords to it.
Mm.
So he was a huge influence, but I'll say that Nigeria did the thing where people just say, okay, let's focus on
On reality.
what's feeding us. Yes. So,
Right. So before we head into escapism proper, your new alias, Bloody Civilian, because we know you are something different, which obviously you don't want to talk about, but
Emo say it's fun.
it is?
Yeah.
Awesome. No, I'm going to keep that one close to my chest because I'm one of the day ones. So
Yes.
we are never saying that in public. We know what it is and we're going to ignore it. So with especially the song Escapism, the lyrics, the standout thing, should have taken care of myself this morning, but my ancestors are watching. And then you went into how Nigeria is Nigerian. Your alias Bloody Civilian. Now I know where that comes from because I've heard it before prior to meeting you and then meeting you as Bloody Civilian. But how much of the interactions with the military people, the uniforms, did you have? Did that really inform the decision to go from being a Mose to being Bloody Civilian?
Yeah, so like I had good and bad ones. Obviously, if you grow up in Abuja, police, military, they don't take the risk because they assume that some of us are could be. They don't know
People who
who's
could get them into
yeah.
trouble.
So honestly, growing up in Abuja, I benefited from the fact that people just won't try. They don't know whether you're anyone's daughter. And
Mm.
luckily for me, that growing up in a city like that is good because my parents can't really pull any kind of plug to get me out of jail or anything like that. So it was good that I could just pretend
Yeah.
along with everyone else in the city. But when it comes to the other cities that I've been in, KD, Jos, it was a regular occurrence to just see people randomly doing like what is it called, a frog jump, getting
Ah.
punished in public, getting beaten in public. I would go home Christmas, spend Christmas in Kaduna with my family, and just different occurrences along those lines. And I think one major one would be like calls from home when Taraba, like where my dad is from, was getting attacked, and rather than kind of help the people when we called the military for help, they came and they opened fire
On the people who
on
called
the
them for
people.
help.
So this is our general experience, and I think whenever we speak about it, I can understand how, from the perspective of people coming from the south, they just see kind of all of us as the same. But there are northern minorities, there are Christians, they're getting killed, and so this is just like the reality of where I'm from. I'm from the thicket. I'm from the heat of it. My village has moved, shifted, meaning where it used
It
to
doesn't
exist, it doesn't
exist
really
already.
exist
Wow.
anymore. And we have so many like sister languages that people who speak those languages don't exist anymore as well, like full on, cleansing entire tribes and clans. So yeah, the name very much suits the environment that I'm coming from. For me, Christmas was always kind of like a mourning period while everyone got to go home and be excited. For us, Christmas was a reminder that the places that we enjoyed as kids are no longer safe for us to visit, and that's actually our home. Abuja is not my home, you know. Abuja is just where I live.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to put a pin in the conversation for now, and then take the rest of it off of the live and do this elsewhere, because, like I said, there's something that's happening at 9:30. But I will say this, and I want to say this in front of the entire world. It is an honor to meet you finally, and I will say this with every bit of pride in my being. Hello world. I told you so. I told you she was going to be big, and she's huge. To borrow Sabinus' language, she's huge.
Thank you.
So
Thank you so
keep
much.
doing what you're doing. The support will always be there. I believe that your music is representative of the voiceless Nigerian. So it will always, always find a home here on Radio Now and any place where there's a microphone in front of me. So I'm glad to see you. I'm glad you're doing this. And we're going to dive into anger management when we get off the live.